morning, Cleveland County, on a beautiful September morning. It's the day after Labor Day, and we're here watching bees labor because that's what they do all the time. I am Deborah Blanton, the host of this show, and I'm with two of some of my favorite bee people, which are Melody and David Bridges. And we are here today to talk about bees and honey, and we're just going to get into the nitty gritty, Melody. Um, please tell us how you all became acquainted with bees and why you are beekeepers.
I'll be glad to. So we live on a little farm out in Mooresboro, and about 8 years ago, I planted blueberry bushes. And we realized the first year we weren't seeing many bees. And we started talking, David and I, about why are we not seeing very many bees, and blueberry bushes need pollinators.
Of course.
I worked with a person who was a beekeeper. He lives in the Morganton area, and he told me about his beekeeping. David grew up with someone in the Flint Hill community who also kept bees. So we started talking to folks and saying, how can we become beekeepers? We need bees on our property. And so we heard that the county extension office offered a new beekeeper course every winter. It's like end of January, early February. It'll be coming up again. And so we took the 2-day beekeeper course. It's 2 Saturdays. We learned everything about bees.
Wow.
The speakers were wonderful, the topics, there's a book, but you really get hands-on experience.
Oh, great.
So we ordered 2 packages of bees from the county. They arrived in early April, and we installed them. That's what it's called, is you install those packages of bees in your equipment, in your hive equipment. And from then on, it's been a great journey, and we've enjoyed it. So we've gone from those 2, and this year we have 6 hives.
Wow. Well, we are in front of Cleveland County's are there 4 or 5 beehives that are at the Cooperative Extension place here in the county. And they are active right now. The bees you see are the real things. We tried to tell them what to do, but they're not listening much. So, David, I want to know how much work is involved with keeping the bees and how much you have to do.
Well, day by day, it's not that bad. We like to go out there and look at them every day, just to see what they're doing, what they're bringing in, and every couple of months we'll pull the tops off, pull a few frames out, and just inspect them, make sure for the mites and anything with moths or anything in there. We like to look and make sure, do our part to keep them so they can do their job.
So these are parasites. Nothing's parasite free. So these are parasites that can get into the hive. I would think they could eventually kill them. Is that right?
They can destroy a whole hive. I mean, they can cause the bees to leave to find a cleaner home, or it can kill them all.
So do you use sort of insecticides in there?
You can for the mites. There's a whole different ways for that. The moths, you just have to check and see if they get in there and start laying larvae inside where the baby bees are. Then the larva kills the bees, and it just makes a mess in there. And for the hive beetles, we just put Swiffer cloths in there, or you can.
Swiffer cloths.
Yeah, we put them on the top
Y'all
pretty much.
know what a Swiffer cloth is.
They're our Swiffer cloth.
I'll
It's
be
amazing.
darned.
A bee can climb on it, but when the bug gets on it, it can't get back out, and they lay there and they die.
Ah. Well, who would even think that there are these kind of things that would help to at least reduce honey production? I mean, you want them all working overtime.
Yeah, we do.
So, about gathering honey, Melody.
Okay, so in the early spring, when the pollen flow starts, usually these hives are kind of set for winter. Bees need their own honey that they harvest to feed them through the winter. And they have their cluster with the queen and for the winter. Late February, when the red maples start blooming, they kick into gear. She lays more eggs, they start bringing in the pollens. You can see it on their bodies. And so the beekeeper's job is to kind of know when it's time to put another honey super on. They're going to make the honey. In a good season and with lots of pollen source, you'll have their honey super, and then you'll have yours. You could have 2 or 3. They're the shorter boxes.
Now, a super, this is all new language for, I think, a lot of us. A super is what, one of the square top things?
It's the shorter of the 2 boxes. The large box on the bottom is the brood box. That's where the queen primarily lives and lays her eggs in the deeper frames. The supers, as we call them, are more of the medium-sized boxes. They're shorter. They have just as many frames, just shorter, and that's where the bees will store their honey. And they will, build the honeycomb out. They will inject the different pollens and nectars. They know when the temperature and the moisture content is just right, and then they'll cap it over with wax. And when you see a beekeeper pull out a frame and it's all white, that is capped honey.
Okay.
And so most beekeepers have a second super or a third, depending, and that's the honey we are going to extract as beekeepers and enjoy as humans.
Okay.
But you really want to leave a super for this time of year with the fall pollens for the bees to have the honey to get through the winter.
Okay, so they eat their own honey.
They do. It is their
But
food
they,
source.
they make extra just because, I guess, because they don't know when to stop making
Exactly.
honey.
If you give them the resource, if you give them a super box, they'll keep making.
Okay. Well, that is fascinating. And we're going to show you pictures of all those things that Melody has talked about. David, do you have anything to add?
Well, beekeeping is a lot of fun. We love going out in the afternoons and just watching the bees, stand on the side of them, just watch the bees come in and out, see what color pollen they're bringing in.
Oh, sure.
So then we know where they're going to get it. Sometimes we don't know where they're getting it at because they might go 2 miles away.
Okay,
So-
that's a good piece of
Yeah,
information.
they got bees that go out and look, and they come back and they'll do a little dance and tells the other bees how far to go and which way to go. It's amazing. They're very
Everybody dances when they're happy,
smart.
right?
They do. That's right.
Well, I can't thank you all enough for this introduction to people that would not have a clue, but you can be self-sustaining with your own honey. Make your own honey. Make your bees make your own honey.
There you go.
Stand by. We're going to change venues just a little bit, so keep watching.
Hi, I'm Nikki Bliss Carroll, your host for Cleveland Connections, the show that explores what's happening at Cleveland Community College. Join us as we sit down with members of faculty and staff to discuss programs of study, upcoming events, and other exciting campus news. We'll have a new show for you each month on C19 TV, or you can stream us online at c19.tv. Tune in and connect with Cleveland Community College on Cleveland Connections.
Well, as predicted, we've not only changed locations, but we've changed attire. This is beekeepers' equipment, and I guess it's necessary.
It is necessary to protect. You want to protect your mucous membranes of your face, protect your body in case you are allergic. You will see beekeepers not wear the equipment. We do not recommend that.
Right, I can understand that. All right, and David, you are holding something that smells like a campfire.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what this is?
Well, it's called a smoker. It puts the bees in a different kind of mode when they smell a little smoke. and it calms them down so they don't get too erratic when you're breaking in their house.
Oh, okay. So they don't come out with guns blazing.
Pretty much.
So we drug them, in other words.
A little bit.
Okay.
Just
all
a
right.
little bit.
All right. That sounds fine. All right. So, Melody, I know you know all the parts of this thing.
All right,
So-
so the bottom is the landing board. It's not always necessary, but it gives the bees a place to land when there's a lot of activity.
Okay.
The front small wood piece is called an entrance reducer. It has a larger opening and a smaller opening. In the winter months, you only have the smaller opening. There's not as much in and out activity, and it keeps the temperature, the cold drafts from coming in. The larger openings, and sometimes beekeepers will even push it out. The bees need more openings going in there. There's a lot of bees, and they generate a lot of heat. They do self-regulate the temperature of their hive. These big bottom boxes are called the brood chambers or the brood boxes or deeps. You'll hear people call them the deep. You'll hear people talk about double deeps. I'll have one and another. This is the medium or supers, as most of us refer to them, the honey supers, these boxes here. This is the outer cover, and then usually inside there's an inner cover you'll see when we take this off.
Okay.
Y'all ready?
All right. We're ready.
You wanna smoke the
Woo-hoo.
front, David?
Just give them a couple squirts on the front.
Give them a couple squirts. Got some hive beetles. So here are the hive beetles that we talk about,
Oh,
Yeah, see 'em?
my. Look
and
at
we just
them.
get rid of them.
And
they're
the-
just-
are those the parasites?
They are a type of, they're a pest. Is the best way to
Okay.
describe them. They're a pest. They're aggravating to the bees, but they can cause destruction if they get too many in number. The bees will run
gotcha.
them to the top. That's why you always see them at the top.
This stuff down there.
And then this glue that the bees put down is called propolis. And
They
so you
put
use
it
your
down. We don't.
right. See all that,
Oh,
and then that's
yeah.
why you take so.
Oh, my.
So that's the inner cover, and then these are the frames. If
Where they're
David-
making honey.
Right, we'll show you what one looks like. You see a lot of the bees are active right here.
And they also produce the wax. Is that correct?
Right, they comb it out with wax so you can see the nectar. This is not coated over with wax yet because they're filling those holes.
Okay.
Those holes are very precise, the honeycomb, and the bees are filling it up. They've not done much on the side, but you can see perhaps the shiny nectar. Sometimes you can
Which
kind
would
of
be
see
over
it.
here in the corner?
No, it's inside there. See how it
Oh.
looks different up here than here?
Okay, yes.
There you go. We'll see if we can get one out that they're on and see because they're making their winter honey.
So you put them
So-
in and out slowly so you don't try not to hurt
Yeah.
them.
Sure.
And this is
sure.
these are precise for bee space. That's why they're tight. Bees like their space to be for their bodies.
Right.
You need help?
Well, just trying to.
There we go. Get it loose.
Oh my, look at
Okay.
this. Woo!
On this side. So this is capped honey.
Okay.
See how it's getting waxed so it's not fully white, but they're
Right,
capping it.
Right.
They're working in all of these other areas to fill it up. On this side, they've got some capped honey up here.
So they can go in both sides of this frame.
Right, on equal sides, and they
Okay.
do that. Yep.
Wow. And they're just swarming around here, folks.
Yep. They're not too upset with us. We're not bothering them
Well,
too
we
much.
drugged them enough to make them happy.
Yeah, they'll go
that
in and
we're
start eating their
here.
honey if they feel too stressed,
Oh.
and try to take it away. So
Okay.
So that's
That's
the
that's
deep box is the same. It just has deeper frames, and the queen is usually in there, and so you will see the brood. The brood looks different. It's a capped different. It's still capped, but it's just capped differently because that's where they're growing the babies.
Okay.
This is all about honey production up
I
here.
got you. Which is their food for winter.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, David,
Otherwise, beekeepers will feed their bees during winter if they
Oh,
need to.
sure.
You
Sure
make
enough. We
sugar
talked
patties you
about
can
that.
put in here. You can do entrance feeders or frame feeders with a sugar syrup mixture.
Uh-huh.
But this is the preferred way. Let them make their own food. Bees will be bees and take care of themselves.
Right, of course.
So
I mean, this is like a whole universe
Right,
right here.
right.
Wow.
And as many bees as it looks like that is here, far more down there.
Oh, okay.
Taking care of the brood and the babies,
Sure,
keeping
sure.
them warm.
Okay. And you won't squash any, right?
You go slow. They'll generally move out of the way if you just kind of go slow and easy.
But this
You
is
may squash a
actually
few.
this is actually the glue that they make.
This right here. It's propolis, and some beekeepers actually scrape a lot of that off and collect it. It has some medicinal, antibiotic type qualities. It's a very
For
useful-
humans.
right. There's not
Wow.
one single part of the bee colony that cannot be used.
Wow.
It's the wax, the propolis, the honey. There's pollen in there that can be harvested. And this brick, in addition to being a weight to keep this down for
Okay.
wind and stuff, when you have what's called a queen right colony, that means the queen is active, she's laying in a good brood pattern, bees are happy, they're doing their thing. We place the bricks facing one direction.
Okay.
If when you do your inspections, there's something not right with the queen, or maybe the queen swarmed out, they got a new queen, and things are not going well, we will sometimes turn the bricks like this so that you inspect more often, or you may need to requeen or whatever. So this represents a queen right colony.
Okay. Good. Good, good. All right. Well, this is fascinating. Thank you all for getting suited up. And Carol, thanks for the outfits.
Here in Cleveland County, many children struggle to develop due to the lack of guidance and shortage of positive role models. At the Boys and Girls Club, we make it our team's mission to aid your child in becoming a better student and, more importantly, a better person with a brighter future.
When your child comes to the club, you can be assured they are being guided in a manner that is beneficial to the growth as an adult that is visible in their lives. Please consider giving your child the opportunity to be the absolute best they can possibly be.
Please support your local Boys and Girls Club today.
Want change? Like things the way they are? Use your rights and vote. Take a stand for your beliefs. Why wouldn't you vote? Don't make excuses. It's not every day you can take a stand on community, state, and national issues. Think your vote won't change anything? In 2008, only 3,632 votes separated the presidential race in the state of Missouri. 3,632. Every vote counts. Speak up. Only you can silence your voice. Go to your local polling place and be heard on this election day.
Here we are, folks, in the honey house. That's what they call it, which is behind Cooperative Extension. The county owns it. The county allows beekeepers to come, bring their honey frames that we just saw. Carol is, and I have not introduced you. Carol, I want McSwain. Carol what?
Maxwell.
Maxwell. Forgive me. Carol Maxwell, who was in charge of the farmers market for 5 years, is the demonstrator for the honey part that we're doing. So here we are. We have cut the caps off the little containers of wax, I guess. That's what they are, wax?
Yes.
Wax, okay. And she's going to put it in the slinger. Is this one at a time, or are we going to sling all of them?
We're going to sling 4. In this
4. Okay, okay. And I'm sorry, we didn't get that on the mic.
So we're going to sling 4 frames in the extractor. So I'm just going to cut the ends off of it so the honey can sling out.
Okay.
And
that's wax that's full of honey too. Do you use some of that?
absolutely.
Oh.
So we let the honey that's in the wax drain out, and we use that, of course, just as regular honey. But then we keep the wax capping so that we can make other things with it, like candles.
Out of the wax,
Out of the
Carol.
wax, yes. So we don't let any of these things go to waste. The bees work really, really hard to make the wax. It takes a lot of nectar to make wax. So we don't want any of that work to go to waste. So we use the cappings to make things. We also put these frames back in the hive next year so that they can use them again.
Sure.
Because we don't want them to have to waste time, energy, and effort building more wax if they can just go ahead and start filling it up with honey.
So in other words, we leave these little hole things for
Yes.
them.
Yes, so once we spin the honey out of it, those little holes will remain
Okay.
and they can fill them back up
I
again.
see.
Load this one up.
And I believe this is particularly special honey because I think these frames came from the mountains.
These are local honey here.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to show you some mountain honey in just a moment so you
Okay.
can sort of see the difference. And I will take the mic if you would
Oh,
like to
yeah.
do
Okay.
some harvesting for us.
Okay.
Let's see.
I guess it's okay.
So you're just going to slide right along there, just taking that very top layer off.
Here's some work involved, folks. And I'm not getting it deep enough, right?
Well, we'll go back and we'll open up those little holes that perhaps the knife didn't take the edge off. So you are doing great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, I do hundreds of these a year, so I have
Wow.
a little more practice
Sure.
At it.
That looks
so
pretty
now
messy.
you can spin it around and do the back
Oh,
side.
yeah. Oh, gee. Oh, and they're heavy,
They,
folks.
they are heavy.
Gee, my knee.
So a super full of honey may have anywhere from 2.5 to 3 gallons of honey in it. And with our personal extractor, we extract about 20 frames at a time. So it's a workout to harvest honey.
It is. And Carol, I'll tell you what. Oh, gee.
It's
Here we
okay.
go.
It's okay.
I'm going to do this. You're going to make up. Oh, my. Don't step right there. We've dropped some on the floor.
Honey harvest is sticky business for sure. So the really large honey companies have honey extracting equipment that they can just slide the frame up and down in, and it will take all the caps. It's called
Wow. Like Sue Bee honey. Do you remember that? That happens to come from Iowa, and that's always been reminding me of home because I am from South Dakota. So when we talk about Sue Bee honey.
So just a few more. Like I say, the bees are hoarders by nature, so they will pack their hives as full of honey as they possibly can. Now, as beekeepers, it's in our best interest to make sure that the bees have plenty of food for the winter. So for our particular operation, we leave them a full box of honey for the winter, and we just take the surplus.
Sure.
Because we prefer for the bees to not have to have sugar, water, or syrup if possible.
But yes, I find it amazing that you can give them supplies that they can use to feed on until it's springtime. And the whole idea, it slings it out, and the honey runs down and comes out this hole right here and collects in this bucket down here. There's a screen in the bucket, and I would imagine, Carol, that keeps the wax out. The honey runs through the screen and keeps the wax out.
Yes, so anything that happens to have been in with the honey, like when we're cutting the edge off the frame, sometimes you'll get a little bit of the edge of the frame, different things like that. Bees are tracking in and out, so that just strains all of the stuff out there so that you have a nice
Honey.
clear, clean honey product that you can
Sure.
enjoy later.
Oh, that's great. And we also, if we're going to pan over there are different colors of honey. That depends on where they got their pollen, correct?
Pollen and nectar source changes the color and the flavor of the honey. So it can range from anything from a buttery caramelly taste all the way to a very floral or citrusy taste. It's all completely dependent on their their nectar source.
Right.
And that also changes how honey crystallizes. I don't know if some of your listeners or viewers would have had honey that they worried had spoiled, but honey actually never spoils, it just crystallizes. And that's because it's a supersaturated sugar solution, and those crystals form more in some kinds of nectar than in others. All they have to do, though, is to put their jar down in a little bit of warm water, and that will bring it back to liquid. It is completely safe to use. We don't want people to worry that their honey has spoiled.
That's a fabulous point of interest, folks. Honey never spoils. That is an amazing fact. Thank you all for watching and working through all of this. We worked hard for this program. Thank you again. Have a good month.